So FreeNAS 11.1.U4 is now available for download. And some of you are probably going, but Tom, didn't 11.3 just come out a little while ago? Yeah, but there was a bug. So some people I've seen, they're going to crack the jokes or go, I'm going to wait to the U5 version or whatever. Not really that big of a deal. The deal is big, but I'm going to talk about why mitigation and bug reports and all this, and we're going to kind of sum this up here. So 11U4 came out to squash a very particular bug. And the bug was people who lost the ability to use their shares, which is probably a primary reason a lot of people have these. So the shares specifically related to Samba shares were broken. Now, this is kind of, there's a forum in this, and it sounds like when I look through the bug here, that it was just kind of a pointing in the wrong direction and had the wrong permission. So when they were doing a diff between them, which is another wonderful thing about open source, is the community can immediately kind of jump into action and say, hey, what's the difference between these two updates and what's different? And it looks like private dir equals root Samba private versus it should have been, I believe it's the etc directory, then private. So if you care about the details, they're all in here and how they quash the bug. And of course, it's open source, so you can look at the source code. But what I think is important is that when they acted quickly, they do not go into denial mode. They're not some of the other companies that we've dealt with. And because they're open source, the community can help participate and say, hey, let's just do a quick look here and find what the differences are and go, oh, this is how we can fix that bug. So it's all done in very, if you're into coding at all, plain sight and able for you to see it and see the code changes that need to be made for that. And this is just a good sign of a company when I see updates like this to fix things. But let's talk about what happens when things don't get fixed. So this is my demo FreeNAS server, and for those of you who don't know, I was looking in my production one and accidentally clicked yes. So I've actually been running the U4 for a little while, and I'm happy to report everything works wonderfully in it. It hasn't had any issues other than the fact that I did it at noonish on a Friday, which was a bad thing. Back to the system itself here, though. So if you go into FreeNAS and you go here, and we're going to go look at the updates that are available right now. There's not one in here because I just loaded it. But if you look at the boot, so go system then boot, you can see here's U3, here's U4. Now, what if U4 didn't work? Or in a lot of people's cases, U3 didn't work. Well, they were on U2, and U2 worked perfectly fine. This is the model by which the FreeNAS system was built on. Now, if you have a TrueNAS server, I've covered this in there. It actually updates the motherboards independent of each other so you can do staggered updates and have even more redundancy. But just if you're running your home-built FreeNAS box and you got it saved on, one little card or however you want to do it, if you're doing like a little USB boot, this is you keep a couple revisions. This is why, even though I'm only using, it's a 32 gig one in this setup, and it's only using 1.6, they're not that big of updates, so you can usually keep a couple iterations of them on here. If you want to roll back to the other ones, you just go here and go activate, and it says activate boot environment 11.1-3. Sure. Hit OK. And when I reboot, we're going to be back at this version. It's really that simple. So as much as I know people like to worry about the updates maybe causing or having a bug that wasn't previously there, switching back and forth between them, not really a big deal. It doesn't reboot automatically, so you can choose this and then choose to reboot. I had mentioned before at the last one, you don't want too many in here because you got to have enough room to load the next update. But you at least want to keep one or two versions. And obviously, if you're loading one, you're not automatically deleting the old version. So right there, this would, if I reboot now, I'm going to be back on 11.1-3, but I'm actually going to leave it at this one here, hit OK. And it puts me back on 11.1U4 and reboot. So it's not hard to roll back. And this is part of the design of FreeNAS. It doesn't just load an update that you go, oh my gosh, I can't do anything about it. I just have to deal with these bugs. So it's hard to roll it back, or you have to reload the OS. You don't have to. You can just go through here and roll back the update if you need to, because there's something in it that doesn't work for you. And this was the solution. You can read through the forums and here through the bug report. People said roll back to U2, problems there once they rebooted. Life was good. So it has a method of mitigating if there is a new bug you're just unaware of. And if not, you can just go and stay with the new version and wait for those bugs to be quashed out. Here is a login to my production machine. So this is our production machine. It's been running since 12:53 when I hit the thing by accident and updated it. So the uptime, roughly about a day right now. I haven't had any issues with the U4. All of our shares are working. All the things in our jails haven't had any problems. And we do have, and this has been asked of me, we have a couple things deprecated like clone deploy in our jails. It's set up and it works, but it's no longer a supported plugin because the whole project's abandoned, but it has passed and kept working through different versions of FreeNAS, and no issues there. All of our other things work like iSCSI and all that, so I haven't had any problems with it so far. Granted, it's only 24 hours, but we do use the full gamut of services on here. We use all the snapshotting and everything else, and there's been no errors at all. We haven't had any. I checked through the logs, no bugs, nothing to report in terms of that. All the services seem to be working fine. And I'm using encrypted volumes. Like I said, I'm using the full gamut of systems on this, and no real issues. So that being said, go ahead and get U4, which is kind of a minor update to U3 to fix that Samba bug, and have at it. So, and if it goes wrong for you, you should always back up everything first. And also, after you load the update and it seems to be working, go here to System, go to General, and back up, save the config again, because you now have the latest version of the config file. So always back up ahead of time, always have your data backed up, but you do have a method to go back. So if something goes wrong, and we actually jumped a version, so if we go to here, System, Boot, we had the U4 is here. We actually had we thought we were chasing our tails. That's why there's a couple different copies of U1 in here. But we jumped from U1 to U4. And it seemed to have no problems at all. We had a weird problem that was completely caused by me. I don't have much of a debrief on it because we don't know exactly how I did it, but my friend helped me sort it all out. But our system's working fine on the current U4 version, and we didn't have any problems, and we're running it in production. So hopefully it was enlightening on the services are updating to that and how you can mitigate the problem if you find a bug in U4, which I haven't found any so far. But if something does come up, you can just roll back to that version you had just before the latest update. It's pretty easy, not a big deal. Now, this will cause some problems or a headache for you if you go from a complete release version. That could be different. That's a little bit bigger of an update. If you don't want to run that in production, that's up to you. That's something you should put more thought into before you switch. But hopefully this will be enlightening and show you how the system works, and you can get some updates done without too much risk in it. And if you like the content here, like and subscribe. If you got questions, leave them below. If you need help with your FreeNAS system, reach out to us. This is systems we service. And actually, we do a lot of experimenting in it. That's how I end up with some of the weird situations that I create myself. But for normal usage, when you're not pushing the envelope of it, we have no problem setting these things up. They work wonderful, and we have them deployed at a lot of our clients. Thanks.